creepy guy whilst I went to college. Hi, I don't really post on Reddit, but this sub made me remember this one freaky time when I was 16 and a freaky dude approached me whilst I was going home. FYI, I am now 18, and I have thankfully moved an hour away from my previous house a couple months ago. I don't think I'll ever recover from this encounter, but I definitely did learn from it. So during the day that it had happened, I was really upset and had left college early. As I had mental health concerns at the time, I'm in the UK, so college starts at 16. I was approached by this man who looked like he was in his 30s. I'm not sure, but he definitely wasn't 20 or 16. He wore this dark puffer jacket and had a weird gray bag, kind of like those family holiday bags that you take for camping, and he had a weird cap. Unfortunately, my brain cut out anything else he was wearing, so that's all I can mention. There might be missing fragments of this tragic incident as my brain tends to cut out most traumatic things, but I'll try my best to word the things I do recall from this. Anyways, he asked me how I was doing, and me being the gullible teen I was, I assumed he noticed I was upset and genuinely cared about my feelings and was just being nice. I'm a really anxious person from past incidents of being followed and harassed, but for some reason I didn't feel weirded out at first. Anyways, me being the nice person I was, I took off my earphones and replied to him with a simple, "Oh, I'm a bit okay, how are you?" I figured maybe he was just a neighbor or something. I really hate myself for not finding it weird that he was wandering in such attire and approaching me in the streets. Actually, coming to think of it, I found it weird how nobody really stepped out. Like, the area it happened was between two lanes of apartment houses, but I guess whoever probably did here was too frightened, or the situation was that silent to be heard. The conversation is pretty casual until he asks me which college I go to, which I blindly would have answered correctly, but something inside me ticked because he was clearly looking at my bright green lanyard which had my college logo on it as he asked which felt really suspicious. I was nervous because I didn't know if I should lie or if that was a stupid idea considering the answer was in his face. I ended up truthfully telling him which college I went to, which was obviously bad, but what could I do? What was like if I had my lanyard, which told him anyways. I started to feel uneasy, like I genuinely just wanted to cry in the moment because I knew I couldn't just take my phone out and cry for help because something in me told me that he might hit me or something. He instantly asked me if I'd like to go to his place right after, and I stutter an awful lie. Like, "Oh, my mom really wants me to collect her shopping." So he tells me it's okay, and that we could hang out another time, which finally rung a bell for me that I was definitely in danger, even if it wasn't serious. I don't know this guy. I have no clue if he's my neighbor, and he's approaching me whilst I'm alone on a quiet street. I tried to make excuses to walk away, but he just kept talking. I was kind of feeling frustrated at this point, but even if I was mad that he was taking up my time, there wasn't really much I could do because I was smaller than him, and I was also terrified at the same time. Finally, the conversation is close to an end, and this guy asks me where I live. Figuring the safest thing I could do is lie, I point to a direction that didn't lead to my house. But he ended up laughing and correcting my arm to make sure it pointed directly to my house. I'm more creeped out at the fact he said, "Don't lie. You always come from down there," because I feel like that meant he had been watching me for days. By then, I shut the conversation down completely and tell him my mom's going to be really pissy at me if I don't go home in this instant, considering I'd be home by now, and he smiles and watches me leave before continuing his talk. I'm obviously crying and ringing for my mom to let me in because we live in a 3-story apartment, and I tell her what happened. Like an average mother, she doesn't listen to me and goes outside to confront him, which upsets me a little, considering it caused him to run away, so by the time we called the police, they couldn't find him. Speaking of police, on Neighborhood Watch, a couple of our actual neighbors mentioned how they fought him hanging around the primary school that was behind the street that he interacted with me in too, which really grossed me out, because I'm pretty sure I told him my age at the time too, 16. My neighbors unfortunately did not have any sort of CCTV footage of the man, and aside from one lady, but for some reason she was completely refusing to hand it over to my mom from what I heard, which is unfortunate. I really am thankful I never felt nice enough to say okay to going over to his house, and I'm thankful I never saw him again. What I'm not thankful for is the fact I always feel like I'm being watched. I have no idea if that's a trauma thing or just normal, but I really hate it. So weird guy with that weird puffer jacket. Let's never meet again.